details on what's happening in the city, a look back into Korean history, and useful tips to help your life in Seoul. All in Seoul of Asia on TBS EFM.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. You're listening to Seoul of Asia. I'm Sid Kim, your host, and it's now time for our Seoul Light of the Week, where we invite fellow citizens of Seoul for an interview to find out about them and what they're doing here in the city. Today, we have Miss Im Yi-sul joining us. She works for PSCORE, which is an acronym for People for Successful Korean Reunification. It's an NGO dedicated to bridging the gap between the two Koreas. And we invited her because PSCORE has some volunteer opportunities that English speakers may be interested. So, first of all, welcome, Yi-sul.
Hi,
How are
Sin.
you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. So, for our listeners out there, could you briefly introduce yourself? Where are you from? You know, that kind of stuff?
Sure. I'm actually from the United States. I grew up in Philly, lived there for about 12 years, and I'm studying there at Haverford College. And my family now lives in Vancouver. And I came to Korea just because I'm a poli-sci major, and I wanted to learn more about, as a Korean, I just wanted to learn more about the issues going on in Korea currently.
Yeah, and well, this is a big one, obviously. Reunification is probably really up there in terms of priorities for the peninsula. Tell me more about your organization, PSCORE. How did you also get into this organization or started participating in this organization?
Well, I found PSCORE. Actually, I want to correct you. We're trying to start a trend in the office to call it PSCORE just because
PSCORE?
We get confused. People confuse it with
PSCORE.
PSCORE.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But I was looking for an internship during the school year, and I found it online on idealist.org. And the organization was actually created by a really diverse group of young adults a couple years back, and there were some North Koreans who defected from South Korea, and there were South Koreans and also some foreigners just who wanted to get involved with the issues in Korea, and they all shared this common vision and passion to improve North Korean human rights, and they really wanted to work toward the reunification of Korea. So they came together, and in October 2006, they created the People for Successful Reunification of Korea.
One more time, PSCORE is what we're going to call it, right?
PSCORE.
All right, sounds like a very good organization. It's been around for about 4 years now. Now, I know a lot of people here in South Korea, they might not even be aware that there are quite a few North Korean refugees living in the country here in South Korea. Could you give us the stats on that?
Yeah, according to some data provided by the Ministry of Unification in South Korea, there are 17,984 North Koreans who defected to South Korea.
17,984?
Right. It's a huge number. And
I was thinking maybe a couple hundred.
Right.
But 18,000, that's quite a big number.
And I think that was as of December 2009. And I also heard that within the past 7 months, it's estimated that a total of about 20,000 North Koreans escaped from North Korea. And they're not in South Korea, but just in other various third countries.
And the major route, I assume, is through the Chinese border, right? So let's see. When they do come, the refugees come to China or come to South Korea, it must be a little difficult for them to adjust to life here. I can imagine that life would be quite different from living in the north and living here in the south. So what kind of conditions do the refugees live here in South Korea?
Most North Korean defectors, when they first arrive to South Korea, they have a hard time finding a job, and a lot of the younger defectors face age differences when they attend school. And of course, I mean, there are a lot of cultural and linguistic differences that they have to overcome. So to overcome these difficulties, a lot of the defectors depend on government programs for job placements and to find employment opportunities, and also to have some welfare benefits. And there are also plenty of education and cultural programs provided by private organizations, just like PSCORE.
Okay. Now, if you ask a foreigner that before they come to Korea, you ask them what comes to mind when you think of Korea, a lot of them will probably say North Korea. So exactly, because it's in the news all the time. You know, the shenanigans of North Korea and all the things that they do. So when they think of Korea, they think of North Korea quite often. So I'm assuming that foreigners are probably more aware of the refugees living here in South Korea than maybe even South Koreans. Do you think that's true?
Well, I think you'd actually be surprised that there are a lot of other organizations within campuses that try to raise more awareness about North Korean human rights issues. But I think I agree that there is sort of this indifference and apathetic approach to the issue.
And PSCORE, are you mostly made up of foreigners or South Korean nationals?
We actually have a lot of South Korean volunteers, about 705. Since the start of our education programs, we've had a total of 705 South Korean volunteers.
Oh, okay, that's quite a bit too. So let's talk about those education programs. You have a one-on-one matching program, which sounds pretty interesting. It gives, I guess, volunteers a chance to work one-on-one with North Korean refugees. Are they teaching English? Are they teaching culture, other language? What is that about?
Well, for the South Korean volunteers, they tend to help the North Korean defectors with just the basic subjects, such as math and writing, essay writing. But for the foreign teachers who volunteer, most of them are teaching English.
Teaching English? And what's the current status on this project? Is it ongoing? Getting bigger?
We have a total of 48 student-teacher pairs, and 20 of those teams are North Korean defector students paired with South Korean volunteers, and 20 of them are North Korean defector students with foreign teachers.
Okay. So sounds like a great program. What if our listeners who are tuning into this right now want to participate in this project and volunteer themselves? Is there I guess a structured teaching program? Do they have to volunteer a particular time or amount of hours per month? And how do they sign up for something like this?
It's pretty easy to get involved. We have a few requirements. We require our PSCORE tutors to meet with their students twice a week, 2 hours per session, so you have a total of 4 hours. And if you want to get involved, you can just email us at pscore@pscore.org. And when you email us, just provide us with a brief self-introduction, and you can attach a picture of yourself if you'd like, and simply request an application form, and once we receive your email, we'll send all the info necessary.
Sounds good, and sounds like the email is pretty easy to remember, right? PSCORE, PSCORE at
pscore.org.
.org, okay. All right, so if let's say you're not a native English speaker or you're not confident about teaching, are there other things that you can do to contribute as well?
Definitely. If anyone out there is interested in North Korean human rights issues or studying topics related to the issue, or you're just kind of interested in learning more about this issue, we encourage you to apply for our internship program, which is what I'm doing right now. And also, if some people out there are proficient in both English and Korean, we are always in need for translators. We are constantly translating news articles, and we always need translators at our seminars and conferences.
Okay. So far, what kind of feedback have you received from the participants? I'm assuming from both sides, the North Korean refugees. What do they think about this program? And what about the people, the volunteers that are also involved?
A lot of the teachers and volunteers that I've met with kind of remark at the wide range of what PSCORE does, or PSCORE. They look back on their experience, and they often say that PSCORE constantly pushes them to think of creative ideas to approach teaching and also to raise awareness. And you have to be really flexible when you work with PSCORE.
Yeah.
I think it's just due to the nature of our work.
Well, I can imagine that they are not used to the South Korean style of education. They're not used to the Western style of education. So when you do use your pedagogical methodology, so to speak, then you have to come up with, like you said, flexible and sort of creative ways to get your point across. But how about the refugees themselves? Now, I've been told by other people who have worked with refugees that they don't want to be treated as sort of a charity case, should I say? You know, they don't want to, and a lot of them would not like to talk about their past. They just want to transition as quickly as possible to the South Korean culture. Do you find that that generalization is true?
Well, I haven't felt any strong vibes against talking about their past, although it is sort of a private, personal issue or information, so we don't tend to ask too much about that. When I am teaching and interacting with these North Korean defectors, I'm always surprised at how buoyant they seem, and how a lot of them are young high school students, and they seem to be catching on quick with South Korean society.
All right, that sounds good. All right, well, I hope we didn't leave anything out. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I think if you think back on what I've just been talking about, it's pretty clear that the future of PSCORE's work, we really depend on people who desire the reunification of Korea and the improvement of North Korean human rights. So we earnestly hope to have more people joining us and help us work toward this vision.
Sounds good. And once again, that's PSCORE, not Peace Corps, right? PSCORE, and of course, that's an acronym that stands for People for Successful Korean Reunification. The People for Successful Korean Reunification. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you
really
for having me.
Really appreciate it. And you're doing a great thing, I think. I really do believe so. That's
you.
Miss Im Lee-sur from PSCORE joining us, which is an NGO dedicated to bridging the gap between the two Koreas. All right, I just want to remind you folks that we are giving away a pair of tickets to a lucky listener today to a play called 왕은 왕이다. The King is the King. This is the first Arabic play to be staged in Seoul, so if you want to go, all you have to do is send us pictures or details about misused or misspelled English expressions on signs and billboards here in the city. Email the pictures to us at soa.tbs@gmail.com. All right, that marks the end of the show for today, everyone. Up next, we have Past and Present with Alan Timbick, followed by K-Popular with As One. Thanks for tuning into Soul of Asia. This is Sid Kim signing off. We'll see you all here tomorrow.